In every city, there are streets the streetlights forget. Places where the fog doesn't lift, it settles. Into the bones. Into the records. Into cases no one wants reopened. They told her it would be simple. Walk in. Walk out. Don't look back. But nothing in this world stays buried. And everyone looks back, eventually. Some crimes don't end when the sirens fade. They send out waves. Through testimony. Through memory. Through the people who survive them. They reverberate.
Help me.
This is one of those cases. This is reverberating noir.
There is a body in a pond. It is the 17th of July, 1840. The air over Liverpool is thick with summer heat and the smell of the River Mersey. Somewhere on the outskirts of the city, a city that is louder, richer, and more alive than almost anywhere else on Earth right now, someone has made a discovery. A man, floating, face down in still water. And just like that, one of the most successful merchants in British maritime history is gone. Not peacefully, not quietly, not in the way a man of his standing might have expected to leave this world. His name was John Bibby. He was 65 years old. He had built an empire on the water. And somebody who has never been identified, never been charged, never been brought to justice, took everything from him on that July morning, including his pocket watch. Welcome to Reverberating Noir. I'm Adam Jones.
And I'm Nina Jovovich, and today we're going somewhere a little different. We're going back, a long way back.
1840 Nina, nearly 2 centuries ago.
And yet the case is still open.
Still open. That's where we begin. Before we get into what happened on that July morning, we need to understand who John Bibby was. Because context matters here. It matters a lot.
Absolutely. And I think people sometimes hear 1800s and they mentally check out a little. They think old case, irrelevant, no real details. But this story has everything. Motive, a suspect, a cover-up of sorts. It's just old.
So, let's bring it to life. Liverpool in 1840 is not the Liverpool most people picture when they think of the city today. This is a place at the absolute peak of its industrial and commercial power. The docks are running 24 hours. Ships from every corner of the world are coming in and out of the Mersey. Merchants are getting extraordinarily wealthy. And sitting comfortably near the very top of that world is John Bibby.
He founded the Bibby Line in 1807. That's 33 years before his death. 33 years of building, trading, expanding. By 1840, this man is an institution. His name is on ships. His reputation is solid. He is Liverpool maritime royalty, essentially.
And he is 65 years old, which in 1840 is not young. He has earned his place. He has earned his rest.
He had earned a dignified end, and what he got was the complete opposite.
The 17th of July, 1840. John Bibby had been travelling. The exact route, the exact purpose history doesn't give us every detail. But what history does give us is the outcome. His body found in a pond on the outskirts of Liverpool. The official cause of death, drowning.
And here's where it gets interesting. Because drowning on its own could be an accident. A man of 65, near water, perhaps unwell, you can construct an innocent explanation. People tried to...
But then they looked at his body more carefully.
The pocket watch was missing.
Gone.
And that changes everything. Because in 1840, a pocket watch belonging to a man of John Bibby's standing isn't just a timepiece. It's a declaration of wealth. It's visible. It's valuable. It's exactly the kind of thing a desperate person notices.
Exactly the kind of thing worth killing for.
The theory, and it became the prevailing theory very quickly, was that Bibby had been targeted. Someone saw him, someone followed him, or intercepted him, attacked him, took the watch, and left him to drown.
Murder during a robbery.
That's what the investigators believed. That's what the community believed. The word moving through Liverpool's docklands, through its counting houses, through its parlors, was murder.
And Liverpool in 1840 does not take that word lightly. The authorities moved, quickly, by the standards of the time. These are the forerunners of what we now know as Merseyside Police. Men working without forensic science, without databases, without any of the investigative infrastructure we take completely for granted today.
No DNA, no CCTV, no digital trail of any kind. Just people, talking to people, following threads, knocking on doors.
And yet they found something.
Their investigation led them to a single identifiable suspect. Someone who, for reasons the investigators felt they understood, had motive and opportunity.
And here is where the story takes on that particular, agonizing quality that anyone who follows true crime will immediately recognize.
They had a name, they had a direction, they had a suspect in the frame.
But they didn't have proof.
Everything was circumstantial. Suggestive, yes. Compelling, perhaps. But circumstantial evidence alone does not convict a man. Not in 1840. Not in any era, really, when the standard of proof is applied correctly.
No witness to the attack itself.
No confession.
No watch turning up in the wrong pair of hands at the right moment.
Without any of that, there was no case to bring. The suspect walked free, and the case went cold.
I want to pause here for a moment, because it's easy, genuinely easy, to treat a case from 1840 as a historical curiosity. A footnote. A sad story from a very distant era.
But strip away the dates. Strip away the Victorian setting, and what you actually have is a family denied justice. A community left without answers. A killer who got away with it.
A man who spent decades building something extraordinary, whose final moments were violent and terrifying and completely unavenged.
That is not a footnote. That is a wound.
And wounds, when they're not properly closed, have a way of staying open. If you're finding this story as compelling as we do, and we think you will, this is a good moment to hit subscribe on Reverberating Noir. Every week, we go deep into the cases that history almost forgot. The cold ones. The complicated ones. The ones that linger. Hit subscribe and don't miss what's coming next.
Now, let's talk about something that genuinely stopped me when I first came across this case. Because here is the detail that elevates it beyond a historical tragedy.
Merseyside Police still consider the case open.
To this day, the file on the death of John Bibby has never been formally closed. Over 180 years later, the investigation, technically, has never ended.
Now, I know what some people will think when they hear that. They'll think, that's just bureaucracy, a file in a drawer somewhere, more symbolic than real.
And maybe on a purely practical level, there's some truth in that. The witnesses are gone. The suspect is gone. The physical evidence, whatever there ever was of it, has long since dissolved into history.
But I think there's something more meaningful in that open file than administrative inertia.
I agree, and from an investigative standpoint, it represents a principle that I think is genuinely important. The idea that no victim is simply forgotten because enough time has passed. That the obligation to seek truth doesn't come with an expiry date.
185 years, and the question is still on the table.
Who killed John Bibby?
Let me bring us back to the man himself for a moment, because I think he gets lost, sometimes, lost in the mystery of his death, and that's not right.
The Bibby Line, founded in 1807, wasn't just a business. It was a vision. Establishing a shipping line in the early 19th century required capital, yes. But it also required nerve. The seas were unpredictable. The markets were volatile. The competition was fierce.
And yet Bibby built something that outlasted him, something that carried his name across oceans long after he was gone. The Bibby Line went on to become one of the most storied names in British maritime history.
All of that started with one man, in Liverpool. At the beginning of the 19th century, a man with an idea and the determination to see it through.
And then, on an ordinary July morning, it all ended in a pond.
There's a particular kind of tragedy in the death of someone who has built something lasting. Because the thing they built goes on. The ships kept sailing after 1840. The Bibby name kept appearing on ledgers and manifests and the sides of vessels crossing the world's oceans.
And somewhere in the middle of all of that continuity, there was this absence, this unanswered question, this open wound at the very origin of the whole story.
It echoes. That's the word. It echoes forward through time.
So where does this leave us? What do we actually do with a case this old?
Realistically, In terms of solving it, the trail has been cold for nearly 2 centuries. No living witnesses, no new physical evidence waiting to be discovered. The suspect, whoever they were, has long since faced whatever judgment awaits us all.
But I don't think that means the story has nothing left to offer.
Neither do I. And here's why. Cases like this one, old, unresolved, stubbornly persistent, they serve a purpose beyond the purely investigative. They remind us that justice is not just a legal mechanism, it's a value. It's something we owe to each other, across time, across generations.
Across the vast distance between 1840 and now,
They remind us that the people who came before us were real, that their suffering was real. That a 65-year-old man, dying alone in a pond on the outskirts of Liverpool, robbed of his watch and his life, that man matters. Not as a data point. As a human being who deserved better.
and they remind us that the work of seeking truth is never truly finished.
Somewhere in some archive, in some family memory, in some detail that hasn't yet been connected to the right set of eyes, there might still be an answer waiting.
Maybe, maybe not, but we keep asking. 185 years. That's how long the question has been hanging in the air over Merseyside. Who killed John Bibby? Who took his watch, left him in that pond, and walked away into the summer morning of 1840 as though nothing had happened? We may never know. The honest truth is we probably won't. But we haven't stopped asking, and I think that matters.
Because justice delayed is not always justice denied. Sometimes it's just justice waiting, patient, persistent, and unfinished.
The file is still open.
And John Bibby is still waiting.
This has been Reverberating Noir. If this episode stayed with you, and we hope it did, subscribe to the channel. Leave us a comment. Tell us which cold case you want us to open next.
We go where the questions don't have easy answers. And there are a lot more of those where this came from.
Until next time, stay curious, stay honest, and never stop asking why.
Never.
And so the file closes. But the case doesn't. Not for the families. Not for the witnesses who still pause before answering questions. Not for a city that remembers, even when it pretends not to. The evidence sits somewhere in a box. The photographs fade. The names are spoken less often. But the echoes remain. If this story stayed with you, if you felt that silence at the end of each unanswered question, subscribe to the channel. Not for us. For the stories that never got a second look. For the voices that were cut short. For the cases that refuse to stay buried. Because the truth doesn't disappear. It waits.
And as long as the questions are still unanswered, the case isn't over. It's just waiting for someone to look again.
And here, it keeps reverberating.